Ready, set, go! Hey guys, today on the bench we've got the awesome new Team Associated Reflex 14MT. This is a really cool looking little pocket monster truck, and if this thing turns out to be fun and durable, this could end up being the best little truck you can buy. In this video, we're gonna take a closer look at this, take it apart, see what's inside, then we're gonna take it out and bash it and crash it, see just how durable it is. Before we take a closer look at this, let's see what else you get in the box. You get the standard Team Associated XP120 transmitter. There's nothing special about this, but it does work just fine. I've never had any issues with them. It's got a nice foam wheel, reasonable transmitter for an RTR. To go along with that, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got a really nice manual. Team Associated is always good with their manuals. They've got a full parts breakdown in here, basically like you're building it from a kit, which is really nice to see. Manual for the remote. Whole bunch of spare parts in here. Looks like there's a bunch of parts in here for the other Reflex models, which is interesting that they include. I guess they weren't going to use them, so they decided to include them with this car. A little bit of advertising, manual for the ESC, some servo horns, and some advertising. Now, taking a closer look at this little car, the first thing I noticed is the size of it. It's actually a little bit smaller than I was expecting it to be. For being 14th scale, this is about the same size as the 1/16th scale cars you can get on Amazon from any number of Chinese sellers. I think that's a little disappointing, and I realized that they're including the length of this long wheelie bar as part of their length measurement, which is why this thing seemed like it was going to be bigger than it is. That being said, if this thing is high enough quality and durable enough, it still could be a really good deal for a pocket basher. Let's take a look under the hood. First thing to mention, body clips. These little body clips are terrible. Get some tethers on these body clips, Team Associated. This body is the same basic design as the MT8 and the new V2 MT10 body, which I think is really nice. I love the shape of it. Really good looking body from Team Associated. The material is plenty thick enough for a small car like this. These cars are really light and don't really beat up the bodies very much, so I think this will be just fine. You could always reinforce if you want to. I probably won't reinforce this one though, just to keep the car as light as possible. Under the body, we have a 30 amp Hobbywing ESC, an adorable little brushless motor, a nice little servo with an included servo saver, and the receiver's tucked down here. Obviously, this is not going to be a waterproof setup because that receiver is not in a waterproof case. My very first impression on the design of this car is it feels very tight. Everything on here has almost no play on it. The steering is quiet and smooth. This feels like a typical Team Associated vehicle where it's put together very, very nicely. And it needs to be, because this is a lot more expensive than cars from the competition on Amazon. These tires feel pretty nice. They've got some really good feeling foam in them. I feel like these are gonna do really well. I like the design of the wheels too. We've got some plastic threaded body shocks, lights on the front. This is an all plastic chassis. It's what's inside this chassis that is the most important. Front and rear differentials, as well as a sealed center differential. That is something you do not see on most other cars in this size range, and I think it's going to lead to better handling and better durability, and that alone could make this worth the extra money over the competition. Of course, we're only going to know if it's worth the extra money over the competition once we bash it and put it through a durability test. That's going to be coming up here really soon. Before we do that, I want to tear these differentials out of here, see what this thing looks like on the inside. Got the center and rear differentials out. Got some pretty serious aftermath from taking them out. Quite a few screws had to come out to get them out, but with power tools it wasn't too bad. Keep in mind you are going to need a 1.5 millimeter bit for this. All the screws are 1.5 millimeters, and slightly disappointingly, most of the screws are self-tappers. They aren't machine screws. I'd like to see machine screws throughout this. The self-tapper is just a little bit of cost savings, but it makes the whole thing feel cheaper, and in a premium small car like this, I don't want anything to feel cheap. Right off the bat, I've noticed that my center differential is leaking a little bit, so hopefully we can just tighten that up. I'm curious to see if this is actually a sealed rear differential. It doesn't feel like there's any fluid in there. I want to see if I can put fluid in there. Let me take that apart. Pulling this apart, we can see we have grease inside here, not fluid. It's got plastic gears in here, which is a little bit disappointing to see. And it's also got no seals anywhere on it. I don't see any O-ring or gasket here, so it does not look like you're going to be able to put fluid in these front and rear differentials. This center differential definitely is fluid filled. Like I said, I can tell because I've got fluid coming out of mine. Feels like there's some really thick fluid in here, which is good because for bashing, you want thick fluid in your center differential. We've got shielded bearings on this car. I'd love to see sealed bearings because sealed bearings let less debris in and will last longer. Once again, that's a cost savings measure that I don't want to see on a car that costs this much. Let me get these tightened up, and then let's see how well this thing can bash. All right, got this all back together, and I'll tell you, this truck looks very, very cool, but so far, I'm not terribly impressed with the build. That center differential was leaking because it's not a sealed differential, and it has differential fluid in it, which means every single one of these differentials is going to leak. That being said, how it drives means a lot. Let's take this thing out, bash it, see if it's any fun. Let's see how fast it is. Ready, set, go! Okay, well, it's faster than a stationary turtle, at least. Uh-oh. My ramp has a hole in it. I wonder how that happened. That is not going to be good for this little car. I need to patch that. All right, hang on, I got an idea. All right, well, this car handles well and is a lot of fun, but the real question is it durable? Let's find out with... This little Reflex 14MT is a lot of fun. Seems very durable, didn't have any issues with it, nothing broke on it. I've got a few packs of pretty hard bashing through it now. Overall, I think this is a really cool truck. That being said, you probably shouldn't buy it, and here's why. On sale, this HBX 16889 Pro is less than $100, and it has almost all the same features, the same durability, and is just as much fun. If you look at them, they're very similar. Almost the same length, almost the same width, almost the same height, but this one is so much cheaper. The only thing I would say the 14MT has going for it is that everything's a little bit tighter, a little bit better built. You can see there's a little bit more play here, but not much. All right, guys, so there you go, the 14MT. It's a cool car, but at over $200, I don't think it's worth it for what you're getting. But what do you think? Are you excited to get one of these? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you about it. And you know what else I'd love? I'd love for you to check out this next video.